I rise and support 150% of the Prime Minister's statement to the House at the opening of Parliament last week. And I think there is something quite nice in the notion from this side of the House that the Labour Party limped to their final death on their arthritic legs, as my colleague so eloquently said before. That is the reason why, I guess, Mr. Speaker, they have been absolutely no good in this debate at all and have not been able to bring forward anything of any substance as to why it is that they think the Prime Minister's statement was not the right way forward for New Zealand. Who can argue with a government who has an economic plan to introduce a world-class tax system that is fair to all, that is going to make a better job of managing public services over the next 9 years as opposed to what's happened in the last 9 years? Who intends to increase or introduce a higher standard to our education system so that pupils going to our schools will know as they are going through the schools how they're doing compared with not only their cohort but also on an international standard? To invest in infrastructure on a level that has not been seen in this country now for over 50 years. And who could argue that that is an unnecessary or undesirable outcome? To reform regulatory regime in this country, and the biggest one, of course, being the RMA, but to reform our regulatory regime and remove roadblocks to business and innovation. And of course, in the subject of innovation, it had already been touched on, but the Primary Growth Partnership, the $40 million this year that will be invested by business and by the government in conjunction in research and development in the very essential areas of agriculture and the areas that will grow the economy. Because, you know, Mr. Speaker, Labor, after 9 years, going through some of the best times we've ever seen in this country's economy, saw negative growth or very, very slow growth through that period. And it's been stated recently by the Governor of the Reserve Bank and others that it will be enormously challenging for New Zealand to catch up to Australia. I don't agree with that, actually. I don't agree. Our Australian colleagues are very competent and their economy is very strong, but in New Zealand we have everything that Australia has plus some. We have more minerals actually per capita than the Australians. That's the real irony. More minerals than the Australians per capita. But we have something that's actually much more sustainable than that. We have protein, which comes from 3 sectors: fish, meat and dairy. And if we can only unleash the potential that lies there, which is happening, of course, with the very good work that our Trade Minister Tim Gross is doing internationally, signing up to new trade deals all over the place, the work that's going on in the WTO and others that are assisting him in that work. And I acknowledge my colleague John Hayes, who is also playing an active role in that area. With those opportunities opening up to us, Mr. Speaker, New Zealand has never been better placed to seize on a strong, growing economy that will see most of our hopes and aspirations met. The Prime Minister, you see, Mr. Speaker, is not somebody who bases his assumptions on pure academic rhetoric. He is someone that actually has life experience in how to make the ship go faster, how to make the cake grow quicker, how to earn money and then invest that money in an area that will help to grow the economy even beyond that. We're not talking about what, as we have in the past, people who have theory about how they can do this. We have someone who actually has done it. And I often refer to the American experience, the American dream of being prosperous. We don't have to look to America for a dream. Our Prime Minister is the New Zealand equivalent of the American dream. Someone who started off with humble background and has been able to make it on his own credit or own merits. And so we have someone now that has vision for New Zealand, unlike what we had in the past where most of the driving was done looking in the rear vision mirror. We have someone now who will take New Zealand forward We have someone who stated in his opening comments to the Parliament how he intends to do that. So, Mr Speaker, with protein, we need to look at all of the roadblocks that are stopping those industries from developing and growing and being able to carry New Zealand forward. And one of those, of course, is the augmentation, I guess, of water, the distribution, the availability and the storage of water. And I know that this government is looking at what can be done about that, particularly in regard to the Eastern Belt, but not entirely restricted to there, and more particularly, and probably more importantly at the moment, in Canterbury. And so you will hear more from the government over the next few months and years in regard to what can be done there. We look forward to growing the economic cake by growing the agricultural base. The thing that we are good at, the thing that we are world class at, the thing where we are leaders, and the thing where we can do the best we can going forward. So, Mr Speaker, this is not a government that will do what the last government did, which was to put up roadblocks, one after the other, to every good idea that comes forward when it comes to innovation and investment in these areas. I've always asked the question, Mr Speaker, how is it that in New Zealand we can grow a Pinus radiata tree 5 years quicker on average than what they can grow them in Australia, yet the Australian forestry industry has grown and ours has at best stagnated? How is that? What are the reasons? So when you ask the sector or ask the industry, they answer: too much red tape, the RMA, we can't get consent to put in cogeneration. In Australia they encourage investment. The list goes on. So we need to address those issues. And the area that we are at the moment most likely to have the greatest success with addressing those issues is in the area of taxation. And more will be announced in that field in the upcoming budget. So, Mr Speaker, I look forward to finally having a tax system in New Zealand that is competitive, not only with Australia, but international. One of the things that you always get from Labor governments is that we must be able to put up a fence around New Zealand and pretend that the rest of the world doesn't exist, put up barriers to any type of industry or innovation, put up barriers to growth wherever we can, and the world will sail past and it won't bother us. Well, the problem with that notion is we are an export nation. In the dairy industry, Mr Speaker, we export 94% of what we produce. 94% of what we produce. We consume domestically 4% of the production. The domestic market is so insignificant to us, Mr Speaker, that putting roadblocks in the way of growth in that industry is so destructive to the growth of the New Zealand economy that it defies logic that people would do that. But the last government did. Mr Speaker, the Prime Minister's statement was one that will take New Zealand forward. It is a vision for New Zealand. It is a plan, a blueprint for us to look to and reference and say, have we done this or have we done that? Are we on track? It is, for the first time, I would suggest to you, Mr Speaker, an achievable goal, an aspirational one, but an achievable one. And we, on this side of the House, are totally in support of the direction that the Prime Minister has taken. And for me, in particular, the areas of agriculture for rural New Zealand, for growth in our economy, which will inevitably come from those areas, the opportunity we have to unleash in protein. Mr Speaker, the Prime Minister's statement clearly outlines where we are heading in those directions, and there's no doubt that the Labor Party hate it, and I can understand why that is the case.
Janet Mac.